Honorable Chair, Honorable Committee, before you, our stakeholders, I would call them a consortium. They will introduce themselves from what institutions they're coming from. The lead of delegation is Mr. Atusai Kanyenda. He is a managing partner at Real Estate Talk. So over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, delegation. You may have a seat and welcome. I would like to welcome you, the delegation from the consortium, to this parliament space. Please feel free. This is your space. And I would like to thank you for coming, availing yourself to impart on real estate and to us as part of our orientation. And so we are going to start by introducing ourselves. Before you are honorables from different constituencies as members of parliament, and that forms the Committee on Lands and Infrastructure, as well as Transport. We'll start by introducing ourselves from far right. From there, we are going to hear introductions from the consortium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Through you, Chair, my name is Kenson Malanga. I'm a member of Parliament for Chitipa East. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Through you, Chair, my name is Klaus Chukufenji, Member of Parliament for Blantyre North East Constituency. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning. I'm Mike Jipala, representing the Centre-West. Thank you.
Good morning, all. I'm Mungasong Mbande, MP for Kalongasong. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, my name is Miriam Jacob, representing people from Kasong Southwest constituency. Thank you, Chair.
Morning, through you, Chair, Dr. James Mpunga, Member of Parliament, Zomba City South constituency.
Through you, Chair, morning. My name is William Chikweta Kaweshe, representing people of Mzuzu City South East. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, honorable members of the committee, first of all, we would like to register our gratitude and our appreciation for the opportunity that you have accorded us to appear before the committee in regards to land issues, real estate affairs in the country. My name is Atusai Kanyenda. I'm the managing partner for Real Estate Talk. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Prince Machika, managing partner, Real Estate Talk.
Good morning. I am Eda Mkombezi, a researcher at Real Estate Talk.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Washington Chimuzo, CEO for Aries Properties and Icon Properties. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. I am Dawene Lungu. I am Head of Property Management at Aris Properties. Thank you.
Chair, if you have noted the introduction from our end, there is a mention of Aris Properties and Icon Properties. As real estate talk, we don't work in isolation. We've got stakeholders who are partners who support the initiative, the good cause that we're advancing out there. Hence, we thought it wise to bring the partners on board for the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leader of Delegation, Mr. Kanyenda. That is noted and is welcome. And before us, we also have members of the Secretariat. We'd like to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Ephraim Maipopo, Clerk to the committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Annie Ganyangalazi, Parliament Secretariat.
Through Chair, my name is Jairo Nkwezamba, Police and from Police and Planning Officer, Malawi Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And my name is Lincoln Liwonde. I'm the Vice Chairman for this committee, a Member of Parliament for Lilongwe City, Mbuka. Leader of Delegation and the team who will now go straight into our subject for today. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, members of the committee. Honorable Chair, we've got two requests before we go into the details of the presentations. When we got the invitation, there was mention that we should cover land governance and administration, but there was also mention of real estate development. So we have segmented our presentations into two presentations covering land administration and governance, the other two presentations covering real estate development. So I would like to request, Chair, if we can start with the two presentations and then we take comments and observations, and then we proceed to the next two presentations. Upon your permission, Chair.
Leader of Delegation, is there any difference between what is stated in the agenda with what you are proposing? Or it's just a segmentation?
It's just a segmentation of the presentation. Two presenters present first, and maybe we can take comments and observations, and then from there we proceed to the other two presenters.
That is all right.
All right, thank you, sir. So, Chair, Honorable Chair, prior to the presentation, we wanted to give a background, a brief description of what real estate stands for, so that the committee can have a clear picture of what the entity stands for. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, distinguished members of Parliament. My duty now is to give you a brief of what real estate talk is. Real estate talk is an awareness platform. Most of our awareness is done digitally through platforms like Facebook and YouTube. The reason we have this platform is to share information and knowledge, and not only that, but to make sure that people understand real estate issues from land laws, property development, even planning. So we are a hub where people get information, we get feedback from different people, and we help people to understand what the real estate sector in Malawi is all about. This awareness, the way we do it, we use our platforms, as I said, on Facebook and YouTube, through interviews involving policymakers, captains of the industry, developers. The reason we bring these people is so that they share information, so that people have a practical understanding what really happens in the industry. So in our engagements, we've had several people coming to our interviews, and they have shared information, which from the feedback we get from the people, it really shows that people are learning and people are understanding. I think there was a slight mistake. This is not the play. We have to change it. It's not the introductory part. The slide, the presentation. As he's working on the presentation, let me continue. Now, as I was saying, Real Estate Talk, we are an awareness platform. We engage different stakeholders in our interviews. We also organize events. These are online and also physical events. Some of our online events we've covered, we engage the Malawians in the diaspora in a webinar. This webinar we organized together with the Ministry of Lands and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So the aim was to equip our colleagues in the diaspora on the real estate landscape in Malawi. As you all know, land issues in terms of the laws, there have been changes, so we are trying to acquaint them with what has changed and how they can benefit from the changes. So apart from that, we also engage ourselves in physical events. We've been part of the 7th International Construction Conference that took place in 2024, organized by the NCIC, now CIRA. Our aim is that when we attend these events, you know, they are technical in nature, so we grab the information that it is presented and we present it to the people so that they fully understand it in a more simplified way. So just in brief, that is what Real Estate Talk does. Thank you so much, Chair and honorable members.
Honorable Chair and members of the committee, apologies for the inconvenience that was caused about the presentation. I should have beamed the right presentation when my colleague was presenting. However, moving on to the next presentation, building from the background he has shared, that we are an awareness platform that represent advocacy to let out the right information in the country. Chair, we sit here representing the voice of the community that we serve. So what we're going to provide is a reflection of what we have gathered out there, the people, what they're saying. So in regards to land governance and land administration, this presentation outlines what we have gathered from the voices out there. Chair, as a country, Malawi, we enacted land laws in 2016. And then there were some gaps that were noted. So in 2022, we amended the laws as a country. We introduced the Land Survey Amendment Act, the Physical Planning Amendment Act, Registered Land Amendment Act, Land Acquisition and Compensation Amendment Act, Customary Land Amendment Act. These are the acts that they are in practice currently in regards to land administration and land governance in the country. However, when this came into into practice. As an entity, we took an initiative, a deliberate initiative to complement the effort of government by doing an awareness of the land issues. So how did we do our awareness? As my colleague was explaining, that we engaged into how do we simplify the land laws to an aspect that people would be able to decode, people would be able to understand in a simple way. Because without people understanding the laws, we'll have laws that will not be effected appropriately. So we started doing something like what we've named, simplifying the laws. Pali zambiri zofunika kudziwa zokhuza malo. Ndipo zonsezi tikudziwisa na real estate talk. This was initiated under a NOP course using our own resources. Chair, we moved on to cooperate with these stakeholders, Minister of Lands, Surveyors Institute of Malawi. Our idea was we gave them the platform to speak to the people direct. So we engaged them, we interviewed them. Through the interviews, we went further to simplify what they have presented, because we noted that a lot of the presentations were full of jargons, so we needed people to understand in a simplified way. So Chair, the next slide, we started eliminating the land laws. We simplified as we have beamed there in a simple way. This was done, Chair, just to trigger the people to seek more and know more about land laws. Watching someone buy land without proper due diligence. This was deliberately done just to trigger people to know more and to seek about land laws more. Chair, now we reflected on the engagement, feedback, and comments and observation from the people that we interacted with. Hence, moving forward, we'll give you the observation that we've got from the voices that we present here. When we engaged the Minister of Lands, they talked about real estate agency, how the real estate agency is being undertaken in the country. However, the feedback that we got from the people, you can see from there that I'll just mention 2 points. My viewing fees is opoira. Chair, this is a reflection of the things that are happening out there. People are being duped their funds through illegal practices of estate agents. These are the things that we've gathered. Kubanga ma agent ena akufuneka atakhala ndi mabebala okwanira. Those are the comments we have gathered from the observation, from the interaction that we had. From there, Chair, we also engaged the Fiscal Planning President. We wanted him to give people what Fiscal Planning Act is all about. And then to our surprise, we were getting the comments, akubangira planning kuti. City madziwa kuti Malawi mono muli ndi ma planning. There is nothing they are doing on the ground. Oh, kodi ma planning imaenda chonchete tapuzira now. These are the things and the voices that we're getting from the community that we're serving out there. Chair, from there we moved on to get more clarification on other issues. We engaged Minister of Lands, and this feedback, apologies, it doesn't beam well, but I'll just read. There was a comment which said, "Hi, Real Estate Talk. I have been following your page and I watched the comedy which you shared from Minister of Lands, and I am disturbed. Recently, I bought plots with some workmates in Lilongwe where the agents are subdividing plots and selling at an affordable price. They gave us a sales agreement as proof of payment and ownership of our plots. We all have copies in line with the new land laws. What is our position? Since we bought bare land, will government take away the land? What will happen to us?" Chair, these are the questions that are out there, the observations that are out there in regards to the provisions of the land. We engaged Minister of Lands when we got those kind of feedback. So we came up with something like that just to guide the people. Muntu asanagule malo avide ku malo enelela kufusa ndondomeko yobezera malo komwe ndi ku Minister of Lands. You can be guided only when you've gone to the right authority. Chair, we took a step further in our effort for awareness in regards to land laws. We simplified to make sure that people understand more. Malo City Gulangati Molo Wambatata. In case you didn't know, Malo City Gulangati Domato sketch plan it's not title deed, change land. This was an advocacy to let people know what they have to do and how they have to do. Now, Chair, moving on to the areas of concern according to the background that we've given now, in line to the discussion that we need to have. What are the concerns that we've observed and then that would need they would need the committee oversight? Chairs, as I said earlier that we have introduced a country as a customary, we have enacted new laws. There is one law which talks about customary act. The act provides the management and administration of customary land within a jurisdiction of a certain tier. Now, within the provisions of the law requires that every person who owns customary land must register their land. The requirement is to enforce tenure security, 1. 2, issuance of customary estate certificates. Once you register your land, they'll issue customary estate certificates. That's proof of ownership, so that our citizens can have proof of ownership over their land for customary land. Chair, there is also a provision in the Act which says there is no selling of customary land. If you have registered customary land, you have certificate, you cannot sell. There's no need for you to dispose customary land. Now, what are the formal permitted use within the provisions of the Act in regards to customary act? There is a provision for you as the owner of customary act that you can lease out the customary land. That is meant to unlock the value of land. One aspect of it is you can only lease out and receive rentals over the land. You can also use customary land for collateral because you have certificates over it. You can issue that certificate to financial institutions and then they'll be able to give you a loan if you have developed that land. Again, there's a provision which states that customary land is inheritable. It's transferable by will. So you can transfer to the people within the clan. Chair, moving forward, what are the areas of discussion for the oversight now? The first gap that we've noted is the implementation gap. Customary land to be registered, there's need for a process which is called adjudication process, which requires identification, confirmation, survey, and registration of the land within a jurisdiction. So it means the respective ministries, they have to take the initiative to go all over the country where there's customary land to start confirming, to start surveying, to start identifying the land together with the chiefs in those respective areas. Chair, the complaint that we receive from the voices that we represent on this one was, as we speak today, we've got more than 20 districts, but maybe less than 5, the initiative has been taken to. So Chair, the fear is if the law provides that we cannot dispose customary land and it can only be in practice and enforced appropriately when the adjudication process has been done, the fear is by the time we finish the 5 districts, we might find that the other districts that have already been affected, people might be selling the land. So the oversight here, Chair, is how do we move with this implementation enforcement? If you can check, the second gap is an awareness issue. Some chiefs have taken deliberate actions within their jurisdiction to urge their subjects to register land using the Customary Land Act. However, if someone in Nzimba today go to register customary land, they won't be registered because the adjudication process has not been implemented yet in those kind of districts. That's a gap that we need. The voices need the oversight on how best do we proceed. Chair, the third gap is the law provides security, provides ownership, and it also restricts the sale of customary land. But it also gives the authority for someone to use the land as security to get loan from the financial institution. That's the essence of unlocking the value of customary land. However, Chair, when you provide land to financial institutions, it's a backup collateral. As a backup collateral, the bank expects to recover their funds when you default the payment. Now, when the comments that are out there, if we cannot dispose the customary land, how are the banks going to recover the funds? From this issue raised is where there is need for policy direction and oversight on. In that case, where someone has registered his customary land, he goes to the bank, he wants to obtain a loan, and then if the banks analyze the risk, they say, if we cannot dispose this, how are we going to recover our funds? How best do we help our people in these different districts when they have customary land and they want to obtain a loan? The practicality of it, Chair. That's where the voices need an oversight. Gap number 4, Chair, the issues of the law requires that when you have been allocated land, you need to register to obtain title. However, the observations out there from the voices that we've gathered, we are representing, they are crying that it takes time to obtain title deeds over their land when they do the application, despite that the new laws provide a stipulated time for them to obtain title deed. They also need for your consideration as a committee on how best we can provide checks and balances to ensure that title registration takes time within the stipulated time according to the laws. Honorable Chair and members of the committee, the other gap, the population has grown in the past decades. Now, because of the growth of the population, there is an increase in demand for land. The increase in demand for land has resulted into informal markets for land within the country, within Lilong, within urban sectors. There has been an observation that there have been subdivisions of plots in different locations without planning approvals, without observing the Physical Planning Act. This is because people keep on demanding land, and then the formal market does not meet the demand that exists out there, hence resulting into an informal market. Chair, there is a need for enforcement as well. How best do we improve on ensuring that we take this malpractice out of the country? Because the aim is to bring sanity. That's why we've got the new laws which advances. However, in practice, what is happening is different because according to what we have in the laws. Hence, the oversight of the committee will be very relevant to the voices that we represent. In conclusion, Chair, we all Malawi NOP service together. Our awareness platform is based on that. Allow me to submit that there can be no better tomorrow for our country unless we deliberately create it today together. The issue raised in this engagement are not abstract. They affect ordinary citizens in Chena, in Uliwa, in Tondwe, in Vumbwe, in Kasia. This requires intentional oversight on key aspects that have direct impact to the affairs of the country. We believe that the enacted land laws supported by effective enforcement mechanisms will benefit the country. We have highlighted the concerns that exist out there. We have all the hope and expectation that your oversight on the issues raised will play a crucial role. Real Estate Talk remains available to support this committee with further technical inputs and evidence-based analysis. Chair, this is our first presentation. Reaching this far, allow us to go to the second presentation. Thank you.
Hi. Good morning once again. Through you, Chairperson, all protocols observed. I am Eda Nkombeze, and I will continue from where my colleague has stopped. And I'm highlighting much on the problems that are affecting our urban planning system in Malawi. because one of the things that we're tasked to do is just to give you a brief background of what is happening currently as far as urbanization is concerned. So my presentation is based much on what has been happening in Malawi, and also taking from the reports that have been published for the last 2 years from two of the biggest conferences that have happened in Malawi, especially related to urban planning development, that being the 2024 Malawi National Housing Symposium, which was the first of its kind, and last year, the 4th Malawi Urban Forum session. So from there, that's where we've taken in some of the things to summarize to them so that at least you are aware of what's going on as far as our urban centers are concerned. So to begin with, I'm starting with just giving you a brief background of how our planning is done in Malawi, because before any development happens, we first have plans. So what do we do? So in Malawi, we use the comprehensive planning framework that is guided by a national physical development plan. And currently the law that informs, or that is the guiding framework for planning in Malawi, is the Physical Planning Act, and that was amended in 2022 from the one that was enacted in 2016. So by this, currently Malawi, the whole country, is a planning area. But what does it mean to say Malawi is a planning area? It means that anywhere in Malawi, you have to apply for development if you're going to put up any kind of structure that is permitted or that is allowed in the Physical Planning Act. But is this really what is happening? As my colleague has already highlighted before, we can notice that there is a lot of chaos, there is a lot of lack of enforcement, and there are a lot of gaps. If you go maybe to Chitipa or to Kalonga or Nsanje and ask a Malawian, did you seek permission to build a house? They will tell you, I don't know, I'm supposed to do that. So that is the starting point of where we are. People don't know what they're supposed to do. This is not just in the rural areas, but even in our cities, even in our urban centers, Luchenza, Kasungu, Zomba, Blantyre, Lilongwe. This is the problem that we are facing. So apart from this issue, we have a development control mechanism that is enforced in this act, the Physical Planning Act of 2022, which states that for every development you have to apply, then it can be approved or not. After that, there is also enforcement. Is this person abiding or not? So our planning is in 3 phases. We start with the national plan, which is the National Physical Development Plan. But unfortunately, the current National Physical Development Plan, that is guide development in Malawi, was last done in 1987. So we have seen a lot of issues come. We are currently following Sustainable Development Goals after the Millennium Development Goals expired in 2015. Currently, the Sustainable Development Goals are ending in 2030 rather. But you can see that our guiding framework was done in 1987, which shows that there is a huge gap. How have we missed out on the about 39 years or so of development? Are we really using a document such outdated to conform to the challenges that are trending in 2026? So through you, Honorable Chair, I think this is one of our departing points, or maybe as a committee, what you can enforce to say, can our development in Malawi be guided by a document that is old as 1987? That is 9 years old. Definitely we are far behind. So apart from this, after the National Physical Planning the National Physical Development Plan, we have district development plans and local development plans. So for this one, maybe we are in a good, we are somewhere good, because most district councils have implemented their district development plans. Recently, we've seen the Shile Valley Transformation Program funding the development of a physical development plan for Chikwawa district, even up to village plans, which is a very good development. But what about the other districts that are lacking? But for our city councils, they are better off, because recently we've seen Blantyre City Council launching its Blantyre Urban Structure Plan, that is from 2024 to 2039. Apart from this, physical planning is not just done in cities. We also have village action plans, which also provide for layout plans in our villages. And apart from this, Ministry of Lands also gave out housing plans that people in villages and peripheral urban areas can use when they want to build their houses, because maybe these people cannot afford the cost of meeting a development practitioner like an architect rather. So the Minister of Lands gave them at least a starting point. And moving on is just the last part to say Malawi is in a phase of decentralization, whereby our local authorities have been given the mandate or have now been empowered to learn things their own, which we would see in the next slides how it's unfolding. So apart from the basic physical planning, how it is done, I'll now present to you the 5 main issues that are rampant in our cities. The first one is the housing crisis. We have seen that currently Malawi's urbanization is running up to 20%, with people 80% living in rural areas and 20% in urban areas. But our growth rate is 4.1 annually, which exceeds the housing unit increase of 2.5%. So we can see that the population is growing at a faster rate than the housing provision that is there. Unfortunately, this housing provision is not even the formal supplied housing provision. The informal sector has dominated, because in our laws, Malawi Housing Corporation, as a statutory corporation, is the one that is provided with the mandate of providing housing. But at this rate, we are very far. Because, for example, Blantyre alone needs 105,036 housing units by 2039 if we are to meet the current housing demand for Blantyre. What does that mean? It means Malawi Housing has to be building 28 houses per day to meet that demand. But if we look at the reality on the ground, we can see that we are very far from that. Currently, what Malawi Housing Corporation plans is to build 25,000 houses per year. But we have seen how much it has taken to build such units. We do not even reach 1,000 per year. So, honorable members, through you, Chair, this issue needs attention, and we really need to cater for everyone. Because what has happened is that now that there's high demand, people have now started going outside the city boundaries. We have seen growth of residential units in areas outside our cities. For example, Airwing going towards Kabudula, Nsalu. In Blantyre, we are going towards Mpemba, towards Matindi. These areas are not supposed to be residential areas, but people have taken advantage of the situation that they cannot, one, manage to access land in the city, but there is cheap arable land outside the city boundary. Now these people are buying land there. This is not sustainable, because according to the Malawi Agenda 2063, we want to attain sustainable cities. And a sustainable city form is one that is compact, whereby the residents live close to their opportunities. They should be able to go to work, or go to school, or go to church within a walkable distance, if that is a compact city. But with at the pace that we're going, if we're going as far as Matindi in Blantyre, as far as maybe 6 miles in Zomba, that means people are not going to be able to, as Malawi, we're not going to be able to achieve a sustainable city form that we want in the Malawi Agenda 2063. So in the end, we are going to have spatial injustice, because at some point, we're going to have voluntary removals. It's not like these people are being forced, but those people who are living outside city boundaries in the peripheral urban areas are selling their land, their arable land. This land, they use it for agriculture to earn a living. But now these people are selling this land to those urban dwellers who at least maybe have an income source that they can manage. In the end, who is suffering? Those people who are poor cannot manage to access land. At least those maybe who has some amount can be able to live in these peripheral urban areas. In the end, the urban poor are going to be forced to live far away from the city because they cannot manage. This is spatial injustice, because if you want to conform to sustainability according to the Malawi Agenda 2063, the social aspect, it means a city has to be equal to everyone, whether rich, poor, or middle income. Everyone has to have equal access to opportunities. And now moving on to the next point is now the knowledge gaps. What do we have? Currently, our planning system is the same that we inherited from the colonial masters. Urban structure planning is something that we inherited from the UK because our planning system was developed by the British when we were under them. By then, after they gave us the country in 1964, we did not go back to see what works for us or not. Because according to studies, issue-based planning is what works for countries that are developing with weak planning systems. Because we need to look at the issues that we're having. We have a housing crisis. You're going to see another issue to do with poor governance and climate crisis. Those issues cannot be solved by urban structure planning, which mostly involves on zoning, allocating land. This is land for housing, this is land for what? That cannot respond to the pace that we are going. So maybe through you, Chair, and the honorable members present here, we need to sit down and rethink, is this what really needs to happen? Because what has now come to be prevalent is that most of our residents, despite having these laws since time immemorial, they lack knowledge of the development process. My colleague here already highlighted, when we are hosting our campaigns, a lot of people are still asking, if I want land, where do I go? If we go maybe ask a random person in Madisi, in Inchisi, they won't tell you they know that Malawi is a planning area, which definitely shows that there is a knowledge gap. What we are proposing is that maybe we now need to streamline land laws and the related developmental framework in our curriculum. Maybe people need to know, to say if you want to access land in Malawi, this is the process. Because as much as we're doing our work, you can see much of it is digital. But if you look at statistics, an average Malawian does not own a smartphone where they can go on Facebook to read. They cannot have a laptop to read these laws. How can we now change these messages into readable context or into messages that can be spread to the rural masses? Because despite the rampant urbanization, majority of Malawians, 80%, live in rural areas, and most of them are not tech savvy. We need to let these people know. So maybe through you, Chair, in the committee, we need to take a huge step as far as awareness and knowledge is concerned to make sure that Malawians know, because most of them are being duped. People are being robbed of land in the periphery or even in villages because people don't know. Someone just comes with a land on paper and says, this is a title deed, you've bought land, and they are going to accept it. Why? Because they don't even know what the process goes on like or what a real title deed looks like. So moving on to the next section, it's on poor governance. So due to these gaps, our cities have now become centers of breeding for revenue sources. As we know, with decentralization, cities or local governments are now charged or given a mandate to generate revenue on their own to meet their various costs. Much of the sources that could be the better place for them to collect revenue have now become sources where also informal landlords are now generating money from. The famous ones, for example, being what we call an enemy godi. These people are now so rampant in our cities. They are the ones that people fear. Come a city council official to chase them, they are not going to learn. Akabwera any godi, choganaba, they are going to learn. Why? Because at some point, we have let these people to lead. They are not just leading maybe in minibus operations, but even in allocation of plots to vendors in cities, even in the real estate sector. This, we have what we call estate agents. These people are collecting money. They are not registered under the Real Estate Act, but they are acting like they are the ones who are agents because people don't know. So these people have now become the breeding sources because at the end of the day, our local councils still have to give people the basic resources, still have to provide, let's say, toilets and sanitation infrastructure in markets. They still have to provide shelters for minibuses and buses. But how are they going to meet this when they're not the ones collecting fees from service providers? So we are at a loss as far as the local government management is concerned. So maybe we need now to start looking at, if we are really saying we're in a decentralization era, we are obeying the bottom-up structures, but what can we learn from the local people? Why are they able to listen to any godi than they are able to listen to city council officials or to listen to any other government structures that we may set. So the last part that I'm going to take you through, that is so rampant in our cities and we can't run away from, is climate change and the urban vulnerability. As we all know currently, we have had a lot of disasters. There's an old saying that says a city can be built in decades, hundreds or 200s of years, but it can only take an hour of a natural disaster to destruct it. What this means is that we need to stand up. We have seen a lot of residents being hit by various disasters, landslides, flooding, tropical cyclone Anna, tropical Freddy, and many more. The most worrisome issue about this is that the low-income residents are the ones who are the most affected when these disasters hit. Why is it so? Because these people cannot access, or they are not able to access cheap land and housing. They resort to staying, to living in disaster-prone areas such as floodplains and hillsides, because in these places it is easy for them to access land using the informal systems. So they resort to these places. But when a disaster comes, these are the places. We also saw what happened in 2023 with the cases in Chirobwe, in Sochi, and many other districts. It just shows that we are not yet there because maybe we have not really been proactive, because we cannot only be planning to distribute relief items when this disaster strikes, but what can we do now? So maybe we need to streamline building resilient houses, starting with the urban poor and everyone else, so that people have access to good housing and land closer to opportunities, and so that we safeguard them when disasters strike. Thank you so much. I think we're going to have a break. We're going to have a feedback session before we proceed to the next presentations, and our leader of delegation is going to guide us with that. Thank you so much.
Honorable Chair, honorable members of the committee, those are the first presentations that we prepared in regards to land governance and land administration. Chair, we would love to be guided for the comments, observations, and questions. Thank you, Chair.
I would like to thank you for the insightful presentations. We are grateful. We will now open for questions, comments, and responses from our members, honored members that are here, as provided. Yes, Honorable, for Zomba South. We'll take a set of 4 questions, comments, or responses, and then we'll go to the next phase.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. And through you, I should also thank the 3 presenters for the elaborate presentations, and very informative for that matter. First, I should commend the consortium for being innovative in terms of advocacy using social media, because most of us are on social media, and I think that information will get a lot of people. Secondly, commending you again because of your approach, where we are able to involve or engage stakeholders and give that information to the masses. I think it's a good approach. It's not a militant approach, but we're getting information from point X and give it to point Y. I think it's very, very good. And I think this will get us to be talking about these matters that sometimes we just let them be. But I think we are giving people the platform to start discussing land issues. So, Chair, I wanted to commend the consortium on that. A few issues I think have come up. I will not take all of them because we are a team. But the first one is, I thought using social media is very innovative, but at the same time, the Madam Presenter also shoot herself in the foot and said most of us are not on social media. Most of us are villagers, and social media is alien to us. And the issues that are happening affecting the 80% of Malawians. And if you're going to educate them, you might not use Facebook. So she shot herself in the foot, and I would want her to come back and rescue herself. How do you tackle that issue without using social media? We are looking at you as a conduit for giving out information, educating the masses. And Facebook, I think we are just reaching a small percentage of the people in the rural areas. Secondly, as you are educating the masses, you might also want to take note that a lot of illegal settlements, because I've spoken to people in the Ministry of Lands, there are a lot of illegal settlements. And sometimes we might not be fair just to rush and say these people don't know how to get land, or they don't have money to get land. I think there could be other issues. If you educate them, maybe they might avoid settling in illegal areas. If you pass a number of streets, you see that we have got road reserves in our cities, but people have decided to ignore those road reserves and settle and do business within the road space. I don't think that is out of ignorance. You might want to go there and quiz them and see what is it, for us also to be able to assist in the taking action. Encroachment on public land. People are encroaching. Land that is supposed to be used for schools, etc., etc. I don't think it's out of ignorance. We have, as parliamentarians, councillors, we are fighting battles in our constituencies to make sure that people stop encroaching. So we might also want to go there and see what is the problem. Chair, we have issues in my constituency, illegal mining. People are mining on the river banks, resulting in a degradation of land. I think affecting houses that are probably close to the riverbeds because of the illegal mining. Of course, the people who are constructing close to the riverbeds are also at fault. So this illegal mining, you might also want to quiz that and see what is the matter. It's a big challenge in my constituency, and we want it also to tackle that holistically. As I finish, issues of urban structure planning, I think I come from Zomba City, is something that we also want to do, following the footsteps of Blantyre City and others. I think we have planned to do that together with everybody in Zomba City. Issues do come up in expansion, for example, for Zomba City. We have to make sure that we are working with the district council, the chiefs, to give us land to expand the city. With that, you see that people might be required to move to make sure that we also provide space for urban expansion. So the madam who presented lamented to say, if you move people, the villagers, what are you planning for them? Because these are supposed to be their Arab land, they are farming there, and yet we are moving them. So I just wanted also to get more guidance as we're expanding our cities. What do you think as a government we should be doing to make sure that we don't also inconvenience people who have got their Arab land, they're getting their livelihoods there, but yet all of us agree that we need to expand our cities. So the madam who presented, I was looking at you intently to say, what is she telling us in Zomba City as we're expanding the city? Where else can we go to make sure that we find this land? And finally, very finally now, Chair, Migodi is something that I also personally don't like. The Migodi in our cities are failing to control Migodi manager. We are failing to get revenue as Zomba City Council, and yet the Migodis are dominating, even here in Lilongwe. We also just wanted to hear from you. I think I, for one, through the chair, we might want to quiz that issue and see how cities can take control of those migodi, because they have no licenses to operate those migodi. They don't pay us anything as the city councils, and yet we are failing to collect revenue as the cities. So I think this is something, Chair, that we might want to take as a committee. These people are here to advocate and also to educate. I think it's an issue that we need to face head-on and make sure that we take back those migodi, because they're supposed to be under our city councils and district councils. Thank you, Chair.
We will allow, thank you very much, Honorable Zomba City. We will allow more questions and comments before the consortium response. Thank you. Let's go into the questions that Honorable has asked.
Thank you very much, Chair, and also Honorable Member for Zomba City. The first thing that I need to acknowledge is appreciate that you understand most of these problems, which gives us a good footing to say we were all going in the good direction, or we're all going in the same direction. On the issue of Migodi, I think the best is for us all to discuss, because it affects us together as researchers or as on your side as lawmakers, because it really looks like a big issue. It might be small, but it's growing. Each and every day we are seeing these people taking charge. So I will also leave it to my colleagues to come in on that, because this is more of a discussion as well together with you. But I want to tackle the issues that you have raised to do with encroachment and illegal mining, as also being other issues that maybe we might need to research more about it. I think we really welcome that idea. We need maybe to work with these people, or maybe to talk to these people to say what is really going on. Why are people still not obeying laws? Because as some of these people know, as you're talking of road reserves and cities, most of the times you can see a beacon, but you'll see a person building a fence beyond that beacon. So maybe we really need to talk to these people to say, why are you not obeying? The question to do with social media, my colleague is going to take it. But I want to lastly tackle the issue to do with the expansion of Zomba. I'm going to give an example of Blantyre City Council. It implemented this Blantyre Urban Structure Plan that runs from 2024 to 2039, 2 years ago. And as you can all notice, Blantyre City is expanding in terms of population. And what the team agreed is that they're not going to increase the city boundary. Why? Because if we're looking at the Malawi Agenda 2063, we are advocating for sustainable development. And in sustainable development, a city form or the structure of a city that is sustainable is compact, whereby people don't live far away from the city, but close. How do we do this now? The best way that we can do Zomba is to propose for infill developments. There might be some parts inside the city that are either vacant or some land that is not being used or being underutilized, not really to market value. Those are the kind of land that you now utilize. You start with infilling those existing vacant plots or underutilized plots. Then secondly, we need to now advocate for vertical developments. Most of our city structures in all the 4 cities in Malawi, they are mostly bungalows, 1 floors. But we can build going up, because in cases where we have run out of horizontal space, we make use of vertical space. Let's now start advocating for houses that are 5 stories, 6 stories, and the beyond. The reason why we're saying this is because this can take up a lot of people than it is for you to spread people. You can spread them up to Nchewu from Lilongwe, but you're not going to make the demand But if we start building vertically within Lilongwe City, we're going to go better. So I think Zomba can borrow from that, because that's what Blantyre City Council has also proposed. On the case of people that are being voluntarily removed, these are the people now that are buying land or selling land on their own. It's outside the city boundary, but you know how Malawians sometimes we feel like, if I get 3 million today, someone just comes, munda wanu tikugulani 10 million. A rural Malawian has never seen 1 million kwacha. They are overtaken by the joy, I'm going to sell it. But in the long run, it's not sustainable. Maybe on that one also, that's why we need to enforce now the laws. Because what do the laws? The laws say in the Land Act, you cannot sell vacant land. Because what you sell on land are the developments on that land. If there is a building, you can sell it. But if there is nothing, you cannot sell it. So these people in the peripheral urban areas, Mpemba and the like, are first of all responding to a housing crisis. There is no land in the city. But because they have something in their pockets, they rush to buy vacant land, which is also not supposed to be done. So maybe it's because also people are of the dubious, not dubious, sorry, but the lengthy processes to do with land registering and the like. But for now, let me stop there. My colleague is going to add.
Thank you, Eda. Chair, through you, Chair, let me first of all appreciate Zomba City Member of Parliament for the question and observations, and for commending us for the effort that we have taken as real estate talk. We decided to be part of the solution rather than just complaining. Hence our strategy was we engage relevant stakeholders that we should work with us to achieve the noble cause that we're trying to advance. This is for the benefit. Okay, this is for the benefit of the whole nation. It's for the benefit of district. It's for the benefit of respective people. Coming to the issue of social media, that was part of the strategy. How do we start to be part of the solution? So we needed to start from somewhere. That's why we started with social media, understanding that most of the elite people might find the information on social media, but they might be ignorant of the land laws. But if they go through the social media platforms, they'll find the information. However, Chair, we did not just stop there. We have been holding conferences with the stakeholders. Just to mention it, we had an awareness campaign in collaboration with MACRA last year, where we were doing the awareness for the national address system that the corporation will introduce. So we took the initiative with them. We went to Nzuzu. We did the conferences in Blantyre, conferences in Lilongwe, in collaboration with them. Hence, Chair, our advancements of these initiatives, we are looking forward to the cases where we'll be working with stakeholders, for instance, like the committee here, on how best now do we reach the rural masses, because this is affecting the rural masses, not only those people in the urban settings, or not only the elite people. If the rural masses do not have the right information, we are still killing the country. Hence, my colleague suggested at some point that what if we streamline to the extent of introducing these land laws in our curriculum? That is just a suggestion and an aspect looking forward to how best can we put across solutions for the benefit of the country. So as an entity, we'll also be very happy to work with the committee on how do we advance these agendas in supporting the agenda that the committee is putting forward. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Leader of Delegation. Before we go into... Yes, Honorable.
Through you, Chair, I would like to ask our colleagues. I would like to know, we've heard about who you are and what you do, but we've not heard about where your funding comes from and where you would like us as a Committee of Parliament to come in. A very beautiful presentation about who you are and what you're involved in, but where does your big check come from and where do you want Parliament to come in on? Thank you so much. I submit.
Through you, Chair, allow me to respond to, is it?
Okay.
Chitipa East.
Shall we allow maybe 2 more questions or 3 so that all the supplementary questions are put forward? So after that phase, we go into the next segment whilst we have answered all the questions and the responses. Thank you. Yes, Honour Member.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think since we are discussing solutions, I noticed that issues of housing are very much related to population growth. And our population growth is outpacing the increase in the provision of housing units. So it's important that we also engage the Ministry of Health, for example. I think these solutions are long-term. So it's an issue. If we are going to develop as a country, we also need to look at population growth, because that also affects a lot of other sectors: health provision, education, everything else, housing. So we might be firefighting now, but if you look long term, it's important for you individuals who are very innovative to also be strategic and involve all the relevant ministries. You might not reach every corner of Malawi yourselves, but if you have a lot of stakeholders, a wide network, I think what we have started, I see it giving us fruits in the long run. So, Chair, I just wanted to propose that solutions might not come only from this committee, but a lot of other stakeholders and ministries outside this committee. Thank you.
Any question from the owner members? Thank you. We may go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Let me give my colleague to tackle the question that the honorable member has given on how do we fund our initiatives.
Through you, Chair, I would like to respond to, is it Chitipa East? On the issue of funding, much of what we do is driven by passion. And when someone is passionate about what they're doing, we don't put much of our focus on the money issue. Yes, I know money is very important, but apart from that, you also have to know that we are real estate practitioners. We do practice. So what necessitated us to come up with this real estate talk was because of the lack of knowledge that people had. When we graduated, the information we had in university and what we found on the ground, it was very different. So for us to get in the industry, it was hard. So we started to bring light. We started to bring light to the industry through the knowledge that we are giving. And if you recall in the introduction, I said that the knowledge that we are giving is not just information, but is something that we want people to understand. So because of that passion, that has been driving us to see that people have the right information. The issues of money, we don't think much of it, because if we were to think of money, then we will not be doing this. We would rather keep our money. But on the issue of funding, for us, yes, it's important. I'm not disregarding it. It's very important. But to us, we look at passion, our purpose. What is our vision? What do we want to see happening in the industry? So that's what drives us. But if the honorable member, if you have the funding, we will not deny it.
Chair, through you, Chair, just to complement the sentiment that have been put forward by my colleague. In brief, as real estate talk, we fund ourselves. All the initiatives that we have been undertaking, they are done using our own finances. However, Chair, this is a movement of a noble cause for the country, as I earlier alluded. Hence, we look forward to support that we can receive from stakeholders that might be able to support the initiative. Thank you so much.
There's one more comment that we have to respond to Honorable Member from Zomba City. Is Zomba City South? Yes, Zomba City South. Thank you so much. I would like to really appreciate the point that you have just brought in. It's not a question, but it's a very good maybe starting point, because we cannot tackle just providing solutions. Sometimes you have to address the problem. So since the problem is population growth, it is really true that we need to work with other ministries that are affected by this. And because it's not only housing supply that is affected, definitely education, health systems, they have also been affected by this. So I think we are really going to take it up, and if possible, through you, Chair, you can also link us up with the other committees to say maybe we really need to work together on this issue, because there are solutions that are being proposed here, but we feel like they are cross-cutting. They are also touching your sectors. How can we move on together? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the responses. Before we go to the next segment, allow me to go back a bit to the question that Chitipa, Honorable from Chitipa has mentioned. Partly the question has been answered to saying you are self-funded. But the other question was, how do you want us to work together? Where do we come in? Or where do you intend us to come in? That was the question. So I would love us, because that question will direct us exactly to the point why we are here.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me allow my colleague to start responding to that, and then I'll complement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, for your goodwill. It seems people, they really want us to have funding, right? But on a serious note, our meeting today, it has to be known that this meeting didn't start today. This engagement is the final result of what has been happening. In fact, this is a fruit of something that has been happening 2 years, for 2 years, preparing for this meeting. We've been having communications with the Parliament on this meeting. So on the issue of you coming in, we believe that it's really important that you come in, and you've already started coming in because this meeting proves it. But on the other part, since we came here for the orientation, Chair, through you, I believe after the orientation, then we can take it to another level. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, thank you once again. There is need for collaboration with the committee, practically, for the affairs that we have to advance. There is that element where we can work together in how to advance these agendas. So as he's suggesting, if there could be maybe a different kind of meeting where we can sit down in closed doors and discuss further how we can take it up together with the committee, because that support is very relevant to us, not just us, but to the nation as well. Because this movement has to keep on moving to ensure that people have the right information about the affairs of the country. Thank you so much, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, and just to add, I think there was already a point raised by Honorable Member from Zomba City South where he said I shoot myself in the foot. That is also a good point of departure for us, because maybe for the record's sake, there are a lot of people that we have said we may have not reached out. And one other aspect is because we use what is convenient for us, but maybe together with the House, we can maybe say, if we really want to say, let's build an awareness campaign for us to reach Chitipa to Nsanje, definitely that would really need funding. So that's where maybe we can start from together between us and the House to say, from the issues that we are going to discuss up to the end of the meeting, after the other two presenters, how do we now make it maybe a rollout campaign to the whole nation, or maybe how do we do this? That's where I think we can start from, because what we mostly do is what we can manage at our convenience with what we have. Thank you.
Just to add, Chair, Honorable Member for Zomba City suggested that we need to reach out to those people who are encroaching public land. We can't just go there without the support of this committee. We would be able to suggest, can we have members of the committee on board when we're trying to reach this kind of reach? There's a point where we need to take out the Ngodi. We can't just go there alone. There's need for the support of the committee to be there. So if you check properly, Chair, you understand that there is need for us to work collectively, having a collective effort to achieve this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we can go into the next segment.
Good morning once again, Chairperson and honorable members. Once again, I am Tawene Lungu with Aries Properties. Maybe perhaps just a brief note for you to understand and appreciate why Aries Properties is part of this engagement, specifically on the commercial property development front. So Aries Properties is a member of the NICO Group. We are a property services company, and included in our service lines are advisory and development management services. So essentially, we are an implementation partner for commercial development. There are other hats that we wear as well, but specifically for this, I just thought I should set the context. So thank you once again, Chairperson, honorable members, for the opportunity to engage. This presentation will focus on property development, commercial property development as a system, and the policy levers that influence whether investment materializes or stalls. I think before getting into processes and bottlenecks, it would be important to outline exactly why property development matters, especially commercial property development. So this is an economic anchor. It supports employment, service delivery, and urban activity, while also catalyzing surrounding land values and infrastructure utilization. When you have well-planned commercial developments, you also reduce pressure on informal markets and provide compliant, serviced spaces for business activity. One of the things commercial property also does is it stimulates activity across multiple sectors, from the point of where a project is conceived, so construction, professional services, logistics, and finance. With each large development, you do have employment, both direct and indirect, being created. Additionally, you also expand the opportunity for municipal and statutory corporations and institutions to increase their revenue bases. That would be through rates, taxes, service charges, and utility demand. And one of the key things is we look for predictability in commercial development because it improves urban order, by reducing, as I mentioned, that reliance on informal and unplanned commercial spaces. And despite these benefits, investment does not flow as predictably as demand would suggest. There are a number of bottlenecks that we do encounter in these processes. Issues of planning, zoning, and approval processes are often lengthy and unpredictable. And while we do have those regulatory frameworks in existence, I think the challenge is inconsistent interpretation and enforcement, which create uncertainty. Investors often respond to these uncertainty by pricing in risk premiums, or deferring the investments altogether. So the challenge isn't regulation itself, but it's the predictability, sequencing, and timelines of these regulatory processes. On the flip side, however, we also do welcome various policy implementation and regulation that comes in. For example, the Sectional Title Act has definitely opened up a lot of avenues for new ways for us to look at developments. My colleague had highlighted issues of vertical development. What sectional title allows is for flexibility of investment models. It reduces barriers of entry for smaller developers, but also allows for the development and the project itself to benefit from economies of scale. But through you, Chair, I think further to the Act itself, what will also be needed to operationalize this Act is to see how we can have a framework that supports the Act. Because what we have noted is there's still quite a lot of lack of clarity on now the additional requirements that come with sectional developments. Chair, I will now move to infrastructure gaps and project risks. I've talked about predictability in commercial development. It is a prerequisite for investment confidence, especially when you're looking at long-term capital commitments. When we have the lack of unclear timelines, it increases financing costs and also reduces project bankability. So these challenges often converge typically around infrastructure provision, which materially impacts project risks. So to narrow down, we are talking around issues of large commercial developments, which will often have to self-provide bulk infrastructure. So things such as roads, power, water, and sewer services. These costs can represent a material portion of the property development costs and property expenditure, especially where there is some constraints in public infrastructure. This cost and the risk of the infrastructure provision is largely borne by the private developers and thereby impacting the viability at the end of it. These risks are not unavoidable, however. There are some practical levers that can reduce that uncertainty, which now takes me to my next slide on how we can look at de-risking commercial developments. So the first point is predictable planning and zoning. This reduces speculative risks and redesign costs. Second, transparent and time-bound approvals, which reduce financing risk and interest cost escalation. Early clarity on infrastructure responsibilities as well also reduces shocks and improves lender confidence. I think another area, and possibly one of the most misunderstood tools in this particular space, is incentives, particularly issues of waivers. So when we talk about incentives, waivers, the view from the investment perspective is that they should reward outcomes and not necessarily become exemptions. Waivers work best when used predictably and transparently as a risk management tool. When we have clearly defined waivers or frameworks for waivers, you reduce upfront costs, accelerate timelines, and also improve bankability. The risks arise not from the waivers themselves, but from inconsistencies and discretion without criteria. So from this, questions might arise on how we can move from a discretionary approach to a more objective one, and one such way might be through project rating. So we're looking at project rating as a de-risking framework. And what we're talking around project rating is from the understanding that not all commercial developments are, carry the same risk profile or public value. A project rating framework can allow authorities to differentiate between compliant, high-quality developments and speculative projects. So this brings in that little element of objectivity. Higher-rated projects might benefit from expedited approvals and predefined incentive eligibility. This shifts the system from discretionary relief to rules-based mitigation. And the final point on de-risking commercial developments, and a very key lever, is clear engagement channels between developers, regulators, utility providers, and local authorities, as this often reduces duplications and delays. Coordinated decision-making lowers transaction costs without weakening regulation. So from an investment perspective, this is what it ties down to, because finance responds to risk and not intent. More on now the financing realities. As mentioned, most finances respond to risk. Commercial property development in itself is very capital intensive and long-term in nature. Access to finance will depend on a number of issues, including security of tenure and enforceability of rights. The key issue of predictability in approvals and a stable policy environment are essential to lender confidence. Delays direct into higher interest costs or stalled or scaled back projects because time equals money. So through you, Chair, and honorable members, we thought we could also just drive you to practical examples of what we're talking around. We will have some lessons from live commercial projects. The first one being the Oasis Hospitality Project in Lilongwe. There's a hotel being built at the Lilongwe Golf Club, and it's an illustration of how scale, compliance, financing, and policy certainty intersect. Just some key issues I wanted to highlight on the Oasis project. The project itself required significant upfront capital, and select waivers were applied within a defined framework, which positively impacted viability and ultimately allowed the project to proceed. Another matter, that's a live matter being dealt with right now, is there's a very busy bus stop, bus depot actually, adjacent to the project site, which has introduced a number of safety, access, and social concerns. And this being a matter beyond the developer's control, what it required for a resolution to be found was coordination across multiple public institutions. So that coordination was key. The developer wasn't able to do anything beyond their current limitations, which makes a strong case for structured engagement platforms to facilitate issues throughout the commercial development process. The second example is Chijiri Shopping Center. There was a parking management system that was implemented in 2024. Those that lived in and around Blantyre may have noted that the project took longer than initially anticipated. The challenges that were faced were mainly due to institutional fragmentation. One of the issues was we would have multiple representatives from the same institution giving conflicting guidance on the same issues, which led to delays and created uncertainty in project execution. There was also challenges with undocumented service routes, which required, again, further delays due to redesign that needed to happen on the project. But through you, Chair, if we had better infrastructure data coordination, some of these issues would have been avoided. Now moving on to what helps unlock commercial development. I've talked about the issues of coordination. And it's the same enabling factors that consistently emerge. You have issues of predictability in planning and zoning decisions, digitized and streamlined approvals with clear timelines, incentives linked to compliance, quality, and strategic urban outcomes, and structured engagement between the key stakeholders, developers, regulators, and policymakers. So to close off, Chair, What we'd really like to position is that commercial developments work, but they work as a partnership between the public and private sectors, especially with stakeholders such as yourself. Issues of policy certainty, institutional coordination, and predictable processes are not concessions to investors. They are prerequisites for sustainable, compliant development that supports jobs and urban growth. So through you, Chair, that's our presentation, and we will submit to allow our colleague to proceed with the final presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, my name is Prince Machika. I think my presentation doesn't want to be beamed, so I'll just give some of the experts from the presentation, because much of the things, I think my colleagues have highlighted much of the things, so I'll just come in with a brief from my presentation. Chair and distinguished members, from what my colleagues have said, it is clear that there are gaps, and these gaps have been echoed by our community, the ones that we share information with and the ones who give us feedback. Now, there is one issue, Chair, that I would like to highlight to the committee, an issue that keeps on coming in our conversations. Through our professional conversations, whether we are having conversations with investors, the issue of housing. Everyone accepts that there is a housing issue. We really need housing. But the solutions are not clearly forthcoming. Now, through our conversations, through the feedback we get, Chair, I would like to share with you what we've been taught by the people we engage with. She mentioned of the Sectional Titles Act. Let me begin from what the Sectional Titles Act is in simple. The Sectional Titles Act, the purpose is to make sure that people can own a section in a building. For instance, I'm building a 4-story apartment. I can own the first floor. My colleague here can own the second floor. It also goes further to say that even a room, you can have a title deed for a room. Now, Chair, to unlock that, that's where now the problem is. So we got feedback that to some extent it needs policy direction. She mentioned of the waivers in construction, and she also mentioned that for an investor, the reason they go into the reason they invest is for them to get a return. They don't just go into an investment without analyzing whether we are going to get a return or not. So in housing, the challenge is that people now compare the construction cost and what they are getting. If they are going to rent the houses, are they going to get the money that they put in? Now, there's a suggestion from our community. If you look at the tourism sector, hotels, lodges, they do enjoy waivers in terms of construction materials when they're imported. If you're a local, if you're a Malawian, a local person, if you're building a hotel or a lodge that is 20 rooms above, you are eligible for that. If you're a foreigner, 50 rooms above, you're eligible for that. Now, the same concept, if we take it and bring it to the housing sector, using the Sectional Titles Act, to say if you're a Malawian, if you are building 4 stories, in each floor there are 2 houses, you'll be eligible for duty-free. That's the suggestion that we've gotten. Now, Chair would like to bring that to your attention for policy direction. The same can also be applied if a foreigner is doing an investment in housing. There can also be an arrangement, a framework where we can say, if you're building, say, 6 floors going up, you can apply and get that. If we do that, Chair, from the suggestions that we've gotten, we were told that that can help to solve the housing crisis, because the investors now would be able to say there's an incentive in terms of construction. Now, what stops us from going into the sector? Because now it makes sense. So, Chair, that is for the committee in terms of oversight and the policy direction, but we just wanted to highlight that to you. Chair, allow me to go to another key issue, which is the issue of plot demarcation. You all agree with me that currently there are people demarcating plots and selling them. That in itself is not like people don't know the laws, but there's a demand. The market is demanding for plots. People in Malawi they want to have a home. They want to have land. Now, from the observations of our community, from our engagements, government alone cannot manage this demand. That is why we see the birth of this sector. What it clearly shows that is this sector is now taking advantage of the gap. Now, there are suggestions to say, what if there's a law or a framework that says, okay, if you want to do these plot demarcations, follow these guidelines. For instance, you need to get planning approvals. Just as Eda said, Malawi is a planning area. If we allow people to just demarcate plots anyhow, it means we are creating now a situation where we are going against our own laws. I remember there was a comment in a certain meeting. One guy said, do you know the difference between a garden and a jungle? A garden is well planned. A jungle, there's no planning. So if we take that to how we are doing our things, are we building a jungle or we are building a garden? So if you allow private people maybe to come in, to give them a proper framework. For instance, we can say, if you want to do this, at least don't sell the plots unless there's tarmac. Of course, others will say, no, we can't afford a plot where there's tarmac. How do you consider us? Then we can also arrange that maybe those who can put gravel, they can do that. But they should not sell before all these services are provided. Because currently, when someone says, I have customary land, I'm demarcating it, before he even demarcates, people have already bought. So what are they buying? Those are the concerns we are getting from the people. Chair, allow me to go to another issue. This issue is to do with foreign investment. In our engagements, we don't only engage with Malawians. We also engage with people from outside, those who are not Malawians, and there are concerns from their side, especially with the law, the customary, not the customary law, land act, but the land act itself. There is need for policy oversight, or we can say direction, because an issue was raised. Someone said, okay, I would like to invest in Malawi. I would like to come to Malawi and do my investment. But if I come, let's say I want to stay for 30 years, it means I cannot buy a house because I'm not allowed. So where am I going to be staying? You want me to keep renting? So those are some of the comments that we get. So, Chair, with those few remarks, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Chair, those are our final presentations. Upon your permission, you may guide us on observations, comments, and questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentations. They have been so insightful, well presented, with a lot of gaps from the first slide all the way to the end. That shows that we have got a job to do. And also would like to thank you very much for your availability. We're now going to have a time for questions from the honorable members. And then after the session of questions, we'll have a set of recommendations. Thank you. I see Ilongwe C. Loza.
Thank you, Chairperson. Apologies to have come late. My name is Ulemon Sungama. I represent the people of Longoside, Mloza. I had a couple of questions, but for the interest of time, allow me to ask one or two so that my colleagues can also have time to ask. I wanted to find out from you, the Lands Department, on issues of land grabbing. It's a very serious issue, and most of the times...
Just to make a correction, we understand that Honorable was not here. The delegation, they are from a consortium, Real Estate Talk, not from lands. Real Estate Talk. No, not lands. Yes, but the issue can still be raised. It's relevant.
All right. I'm sure they also work hand in hand on these issues of land. My concern is on issues of land grabbing. In most cases, we hear politicians are the most beneficiaries when it comes to land issue grabbing. I don't know if at all you have a role to play. What is it that you do to make sure that these issues are being resolved? Chair, I would have asked so many questions, but the problem of coming late, this is exactly what is happening. I have lots of issues to do with lands. I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right. Next questions. Honorable Zomba Central.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think mine is just, especially for the first presentation by the lady, I think it was very informative. I think fulfilling the requirement that we oriented on these land issues. So I think I've learned a lot from that presentation. I'm from a medical background, so land issues are very alien, but I've learned a lot from Eris. What I didn't hear from you was to say, how do we take up maybe policy issues related to what you have presented? What are the main policy issues that we can take from there? Because I remember the previous presentation from the other lady, I think she gave us some homework, and one of those issues were, I think, the outdated physical planning guiding framework that falls directly on us as legislators. Issues of urban structure and what have you, urban structure plans. So I was not given homework by you, madam. So maybe since we are still learning, I take it that those are just slides for us to learn from. On the last presentation by Prince, I think also thought-provoking, a lot of homework for us as legislators. And I think I'm happy that we also met lands people, was it on Monday or Tuesday? And I think we're also being informed about the Sectional Titles Act. And all of us were excited that we need to be going vertical. And I think the Ministry of Lands was also very clear on that. We're going to push that, and we're asking the chair, this committee, to make sure that we also support them. I think they circumvent some of the bottlenecks that they're facing. So I thought those suggestions that you made, I think they're also in good light with the Minister of Lands and the chair as well. So I thought that is something that can be easily taken by the chair. But a question to you, I think there's a reason why some of these laws are given, especially external investors or people coming from outside, that they can't just come into the country 2 years and then they start buying land and owning plots and what have you. I think it was just to protect ourselves. We can't go ourselves as Malawians without land. We need to jealously guard this land. If we start also loosening the laws to say, well, just give them 5 years and then they can start buying land, and we might also sell the whole country to foreigners. So I thought maybe you could also help us there. Do you think the 30 years is a bit too far? We are too big, too rigid? Because as a Malawian, I wouldn't want to lose even an inch of our land to foreigners. Thank you, Chair.
More questions? We may have the responses.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee, and those that have raised comments and observations. On the first comment that was made by Honorable Nsungama on land grabbing, and he mentioned as if we're coming from Minister of Lands. On land grabbing, allow us to mute our voice on that, because we are not in the aspect where we facilitate allocation and then how the land grabbing has been done. Our main aim out there has been to give awareness to people, to ensure that they understand the land laws and then the land or real estate affairs in the country. So we have taken that aspect as our main core, our primary core of what we're doing, the initiative that we're putting across for the country. So we haven't gone into the issues of how is land grabbed and then what are the processes involved. However, considering the suggestions that have been made here, that we need to have collective efforts with these stakeholders, even to go on the ground to investigate these kind of issues as well. That's where we'll take it as a take-home point for us to consider as a team. So on land grabbing, that's what we can provide. The other questions, Chair, through you, let me allow my colleague to come in. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, let me also extend to what my colleague has said. The honorable member from Lilongwe, yes, yeah, Site Mloza. As my colleague has said, much of our focus is raising awareness. And that awareness we raise to everyone, whether the person is a politician or not. Our duty is to raise awareness. So that is our core function. So if we keep on raising this awareness, we believe that everyone will come to an understanding of what the land laws are saying, the processes, the procedures, everything to do with planning. And I would also want to urge this committee, since you know the issues of, as he said, the land grabbing from politicians, as I said, since you are part of also that arena, I think this committee is also in a good position to solve that issue. Chair, thank you so much.
Through you, Chair, thank you, Honorable Zomba City South. In terms of the homework, a majority of today was the orientation piece. I think a lot of engagements will now happen in earnest from this. It was just to sort of set the groundwork. But I think quite a lot will probably hinge on guidance notes and implementation frameworks for some of the existing policies. As mentioned, in some instances, it might not necessarily be the regulation itself, but now the uncertainties. There's a bit of, vagueness here and there. I think just trying to concretize those, but I think we'll be able to unpack with the engagements that will follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have now come to the end of our engagement this morning. I would like to thank you very much, the team from Real Estate Talk, for coming. I am told some of you are coming from far, but you have made it possible to come and engage with the honored members of this committee. A day ago, we had another engagement with the Ministry of Lands. Observation. Their presentation was administrative in nature. Dominantly, the presentations that has come from Real Talk are operational in nature. They're on the ground. That suggests to us as a committee that in our next engagement with Real Talk, we should also embed with the ministry. There is so much that you have beamed and explained that needs answers from the ministry. So through the committee, our next engagement will also love to have the ministry on board. You may have noticed that most of your concerns, they are legislative or policy in nature, which cannot ad hocly being addressed by the committee right now. Therefore, because of that, next time we engage, I would love that we engage as a team. The concerns that you have brought before us towards the end of the presentations, the 3 concerns, we'll look into that as a committee and we'll engage with you. Let me also applaud the team for the objective that you are pursuing, which is awareness, objectively. I, as a member of parliament, some of the things that you have explained today, I did not know them until I've become a member of parliament. Now, think about it. What is happening to somebody who is not having this access to Facebook, which is your main platform? What is happening to them? And by the way, that's the 80% we're talking about. The 80% that are living in the villages. They don't know they cannot even define their own land to that extent. So we as a committee, we applaud you for the work that you are doing. Let me ask that members, may we give them a hand for the objective that they are doing, and we encourage you to move forward. From here, there are refreshments out there. We ask that we engage with you as we are taking the refreshments, as per our culture here. To all members of parliament present here, allow me to announce that soon after refreshments, we come back here. There's a very, very important session soon after the refreshments. Before we get there, maybe we can just prepare before the vote. We'll ask Honorable Lilongwe City Mloza to pray before we get there.
Okay, let us pray. Our dear God, we just want to thank you for a beautiful meeting that we've had. Thank you for each and every one of us, oh Lord, who participated in this meeting. Lord, we are all doing this for the good of Mother Malawi. Even as we're dispersing, God, we pray that, Lord, you be with us. You go before us for every future endeavors. We praise you, we honor you. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray. Amen.